A very good morning, just past 8 by the clock. Diwali greetings to all our viewers from India and across the world. Over the next 60 minutes, this is a power-packed edition, your first daily morning comprehensive 60-minute of action, where we get you all the latest from the field of politics, business, sports and entertainment. Lots to look forward to, especially when it comes to Diwali Bonanza, not only from the political news but also from the field of sports. Lots to look forward to. I am Anil Thomas. Along with me to take you through the next 1 hour is my co-anchor Rukma. Good morning, Rukma. Happy Diwali.
A very good morning to you, Anil, and to all our viewers as well. And greetings from all of us here on Diwali from and the entire team of DD India on Breakfast News. And over the next 60 minutes, over the next 1 hour, we'll be taking you through all the top stories making headlines across India and the world as petrol and diesel prices are reduced. Good news from all fronts this festival of lights. Let's begin by taking a look at the headlines.
Diwali bonanza for people. Government announces significant cut in excise duty on petrol and diesel. Duty on petrol cut by 5 rupees, while that on diesel by 10 rupees. 9 states announce additional cuts. Reaction pour in from people across the country.
India's fight against COVID-19 gets a boost. World Health Organization approves COVAXIN. The Made in India vaccine gives emergency use listing status to the vaccine manufactured by Bharat Biotech. External Affairs Minister calls it a global recognition to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of an Atmanirbhar Bharat.
India celebrates Diwali today. President, Vice President, Prime Minister greet people of the country.
United States begins administering COVID-19 vaccine to children of ages 5 to 11 after US CDC recommends Pfizer Biotech anti-vaccine.
In sports, India beat Afghanistan by 66 runs in the ICC Men's T20 World Cup in Abu Dhabi. Rahul Sharma bags man of the match.
Rahul Dravid, appointed head coach of Team India, will take charge from the upcoming home series against New Zealand. And now here are the top stories in detail.
Well, starting first up with Happy Diwali and great news for consumers of fuel, as the government has taken a significant decision on reducing central excise duty on petrol and diesel by 5 and 10 rupees respectively. The price cuts have come into effect from midnight last night. The reduction in excise duty on diesel is double that of petrol. The farmers have, through their hard work, kept the economic growth momentum going even during the lockdown phase, and the massive reduction in excise on diesel will come as a boost to the farmers during the upcoming Rabi season. The reduction in excise duty on petrol and diesel will also boost consumption and keep inflation low, thus helping the poor and middle class. The decision is expected to further spur the overall economic cycle.
And 9 states, including Assam, Tripura, Manipur, Karnataka, Goa, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, have announced additional cuts in prices of petrol and diesel. The price cuts have come into effect from midnight last night. Assam, Tripura, Manipur, Karnataka and Goa have reduced the prices of both fuel by 7 rupees per litre. In addition to the centre's relief, Uttar Pradesh government has also announced a reduction in VAT on petrol and diesel, which has resulted in reduction of prices of petrol and diesel by 12 rupees per litre in the state. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami on Wednesday said VAT on petrol will be reduced by 2 rupees per litre in the state. The Bihar government too has announced that it is reducing VAT on petrol by 1 rupee 30 paise and diesel by 1 rupee 90 paise. Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister Jairam Thakur has said that the state will soon issue a notification to reduce value-added tax on petrol and diesel. In recent months, crude oil prices have witnessed a global upsurge. Consequently, domestic prices of petrol and diesel skyrocketed in recent weeks.
Well, people have hailed the decision of the government to further reduce excise duty on petrol and diesel.
आज दिवाली के दिन थोड़ा पेट्रोल का भाव कम हुआ, उससे थोड़ी तो खुशी मिली है। मुझे तो मालूम नहीं था कि कम हुआ, अभी इधर आके मुझे समझे, तो फिर बहुत खुशी हुई है। दिवाली के दिन अच्छा तोहफा मिला है।
थोड़ा सा दिलासा मिल गया है दिवाली के, इसमें घूमना फिरना गाड़ी से सब ट्रैवलिंग होता है, तो थोड़ा सा अच्छा लग रहा है अभी।
आज मीटर देखते ही मेरा दिल खुश हो गया। दिवाली का ये सरकार की तरफ से आम आदमी के लिए गिफ्ट है और उसका हम अच्छी तरह से स्वीकार करते हैं।
मैं इसको एक नया तोहफा मानता हूँ सरकार का, और इस सरकार ने इतने तोहफे दिए हैं कि जो पहले कभी किसी सरकार ने नहीं दिए, और सरकार शायद ये सरकार ही पहली आई है जो जनता के बारे में सोचती है, और इसने ये आज और नया तोहफा दिया तो बहुत अच्छी बात है।
तो इसको एक बहुत वेलकम स्टेप मानती हूँ गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से, एंड आई थिंक सो इट्स अ गिफ्ट फॉर द लेडीज स्पेशली, क्योंकि जब पेट्रोल और डीजल के दाम कम होते हैं तो इन्फ्लेशन रेट कम होता है सब्जियों के।
आम आदमी के लिए तो इससे अच्छा दिवाली का तोहफा कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता। दिस इज अ गिफ्ट टू मी और टू एंड टू द दिल्ली पीपल। तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, बहुत राहत मिलेगी, पर एक थोड़ा सा और नीचे आ जाएगा तो ये बोनस हो जाएगा दिवाली का।
COVAXIN, the made in India COVID-19 vaccine manufactured by the Hyderabad-based Bharat Biotech, has received World Health Organization approval for emergency use listing, or EUL. The World Health Organization on Wednesday granted approval for emergency use listing to Bharat Biotech's COVAXIN vaccine for COVID-19. On Twitter, WHO said, I quote, the technical advisory group convened by WHO and made up of regulatory experts from around the world has determined that the COVAXIN vaccine meets WHO standards for protection against COVID-19, that the benefit of the vaccine far outweighs the risks and the vaccine can be used, unquote. Another tweet said, I quote again, COVAXIN vaccine was also reviewed by WHO's Strategic Advisory Group of Experts on Immunization, or SAGE, and recommended use of this vaccine in 2 doses with a dose interval of 4 weeks in all age groups 18 and above, unquote. COVAXIN was found to have 78% efficacy against COVID-19 of any severity 14 or more days after the second dose, and is extremely suitable for low and middle income countries due to easy storage requirements.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jhankar has welcomed the WHO's decision. He said in a tweet, and I quote, welcome WHO's decision to grant emergency use listing, or EUL, to COVAXIN. It facilitates travel for many Indian citizens and contributes to vaccine equity. Also a global recognition to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of an Atmanirbhar Bharat. A happier Diwali.
And Minister of Health and Family Welfare Mansukh Mandavia thanked the WHO for granting emergency use listing to the Made in India vaccine, COVAXIN.
आज मोदी जी का आत्मनिर्भर भारत का संकल्प सिद्ध हुआ है। भारत के वैज्ञानिकों के द्वारा निर्मित संशोधित कोवैक्सिन को WHO ने आज अप्रूवल दिया है। इसलिए मैं भारत के हमारे ICMR के साइंटिस्ट, भारत बायोटेक के वैज्ञानिक साइंटिस्ट और भारत बायोटेक कंपनी को मैं हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूं।
Well, Bharat Biotech Chairman and Managing Director Dr. Krishna Ela said that the validation by WHO is a very significant step towards ensuring global access to India's widely administered, safe and efficacious COVAXIN. He said it will facilitate countries to expedite their regulatory approval processes to introduce and administer India's indigenously made COVID-19 vaccine developed and manufactured by Bharat Biotech. After getting nod from the WHO in a statement in Hyderabad, Dr. Krishna said it will also enable the procurement by UNICEF, PAN America Health Organization and Gavi COVAX facility for distributing to countries in need. He further.
And joining us now is our correspondent Rahul Sharma on the phone line. Well, first of all, greetings on Diwali, Arun, and good news as far as India's campaign to vaccinate is concerned. COVAXIN acquiring WHO emergency use listing. What does this mean?
First of all, happy Diwali to both of you. And indeed, it means a lot for a country like India, which has developed this made in India vaccine, that is COVAXIN. Now, it means that the travelers who are planning to travel to other countries, first of all, this vaccine will be accepted now globally by all the countries. That's number one. This means that the travelers, students, professionals who are moving from one country to another, this is a good news for all of them as well, because now they will not have to quarantine in other countries. And this vaccine will be accepted. That means there will be a free movement of travel for all the travelers primarily who are traveling to other countries. That's number one point. Number two, COVAXIN has also been recommended for vaccination in the age group of 2 to 18 years of age. So it has been approved over here in India. So this means that now if children are taking these vaccines going forward, so this will be good news for them as well, because they can get vaccinated. Number three, on a multilateral platform like G20 summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has committed this point that India will be manufacturing close to 5 billion doses for the world. That means close to 500 crore vaccines will be manufactured by India. So vaccines like Covishield, COVAXIN, they will be utilized in global good, and all the countries will be getting vaccines. India is also playing a leadership role whereby it is providing vaccines to developing countries, underdeveloped countries, middle income group countries. So these vaccines like COVAXIN and Covishield can be provided to them because of its unique low storage requirements, and that can be transported very easily in the normal temperature range as well. So yes, in that context, this is a big win for the India's Atmanirbhar Bharat story, and good news for all the travelers, professionals, students who are traveling from for another country. Till now, only the people who were having Covishield vaccine were having easy movement to other countries, but now all those who have taken COVAXIN jab as well can travel to other countries without fulfilling the requirements of being quarantined in other countries.
Okay, Arun, also a quick update when it comes to vaccines and Bharat Biotech leading from the front. To date, around roughly a little over 12 crore vaccine doses from COVAXIN have been administered in India. Is there any clearances? Is there any hurdles? Or is it open to all when WHO gives a clearance? Is it open to all kinds of age groups and all kinds of people? Because, there are restrictions that WHO also puts when it comes to vaccines being given to pregnant women. In this case, has it got an all clear, all green signal from WHO?
Well, globally we have seen that the vaccines, once being given approval for a particular age group, then yes, you have to submit your data for the other age groups as well, if in case you are doing trials for a particular vaccine. But more or less it becomes easier for the technical advisory group to assess the data on the basis of the prior assessment and to give approval. Yes, the COVAXIN has been recommended for the age group of 2 to 18 years of age group as well. This data will of course further be submitted to the international institution. But yes, this will pave the way for the COVAXIN or primarily for the World Health Organization to assess it and give approval very fast. Now on an average, it takes close to 90 days for a vaccine to get approved by WHO. There are various countries, in the world that have got approval for their own vaccines in approximately 150 to 180 days as well. But when you talk about COVAXIN, it took somewhere around 120 days for getting approval as far as this vaccine is concerned of COVAXIN.
Okay.
The good news is that the technical advisory group there are 4 steps primarily for applying to the vaccine approval, and the technical advisory group of WHO assess the data and of course give clearances after assessing the data. When we talk about the other age group, that means 12 to 18 or maybe 2 to 18 years of age, or the pregnant women, the approval gets, it is, understood that if vaccine is approved for one age group, it is very much likely to get approval for other age group as well. And that's the reason it is a good news for countries like India, because COVAXIN has been, recommended for the age group of 2 to 18. And of course, there are other vaccine manufacturers as well, like Saga of Freedom, for that matter, by Zydus Cadila. They have done trials on children as far as vaccines are concerned. So yes, gradually these vaccines will come up for the children and the teenagers as well, and this will, be in a process as well. And soon we can expect vaccination in that age group as well. So it's a good news in that aspect that COVAXIN getting approval from WHO. But yes, a great sigh of relief for travelers, students, HR professionals, all those workers who wanted to travel to another country but were having the COVAXIN, they took a COVAXIN jab. For them, it's really a great sigh of relief.
A great sigh of relief also for, can we say, developing countries, considering that and for countries that cannot afford the highly priced storage facilities that other vaccines manufactured by various companies abroad are offering.
Yes, so as I mentioned earlier, Rukma, that Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the multilateral platform like G20 summit has given a commitment during his intervention during the Health for All session in G20. At that time, during his intervention, he clearly mentioned this point that India will be manufacturing 5 billion doses for the world, and they'll be providing it to the world. 5 billion doses means close to 500 crore vaccines. Now, for the global good of vaccination is concerned, as of now, we require close to 1,100 crore vaccines globally to vaccinate the developing countries, the underdeveloped countries. Countries like countries of Africa, various other countries of Europe, in the Asian continent, there are various developing and underdeveloped countries. So there is a requirement of more than 1,100 crore vaccines as of now. And when India commits this point that India will be manufacturing 500 crore vaccines, that means almost 50% of the vaccine requirement will be fulfilled by India going forward.
Okay.
So WHO giving approval to COVAXIN also ensures that India can now ramp up its capacity, or primarily Bharat Biotech can ramp up its capacity or to manufacture more so that they can supply it to other countries as well. Now, under the vaccine mastery, India is offering the COVAXIN to the other neighboring countries as of now. But yes, due to its low storage capacity, or technically no major requirement for the storage capacity, which can be stored in normal temperature as well, or basic normal temperature as well, a very less transport requirement for transporting from one country to another. COVAXIN becomes the preferred vaccine as well, and it is of course the cost-effective vaccine as well. And looking at that aspect, when we can export or we can supply these vaccines to other countries as well, yes, the global good can also be done. So when India is moving in the direction of manufacturing 500 crore vaccine for the world, giving approval to COVAXIN means a lot for the underdeveloping countries and of course the developing countries as well. And soon we can also expect that this COVAXIN will of course be given to other countries as well, apart from the neighboring countries.
Arun, surely a shot in the arm, especially when it comes to, COVAXIN getting the WHO green signal. But, when one goes through the particular WHO order that states, it clearly states that, this particular vaccine can now be administered. The 2 doses can be administered within a gap of 4 weeks. Does that also, gives a fresh impetus for maybe the timeline that we have, say, over 60 days or close to 8 weeks, reducing that to 4 weeks and more people getting vaccinated?
So, Anil, there are 2 vaccines primarily, Covishield and COVAXIN. For COVAXIN, as of now, the Indian authorities are also saying that the time gap should be approximately 28 days. That means, yes, more or less 4 weeks of time. And that can be administered. What does this mean? That this will also, speed up the vaccination process of double doses are concerned. In country like India, we have seen that how states like Himachal Pradesh, Goa, Daman and Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, and of course some of the northeastern states, they have already achieved this target of 100% vaccination of the first dose is concerned. And COVAXIN takes less time to doubly vaccinate the people in our country, because the time gap is only 28 days. So in 28 days, we can vaccinate or we can give 2 jabs primarily, or we can completely vaccinate the entire adult population only in the 28 days of time.
Okay.
India is also ensuring and is focusing on the fact that how in next 1.5 months, that means by the end of this year, 2021, how can entire eligible adult population can be vaccinated. That means anybody who is above 18 years of age, how can they be vaccinated at least single doses. So this approval by by WHO for the COVAXIN will ensure that how can we can ramp up our capacity, number one, and how can we fast track this process of doubly vaccinating all the adult population. So yes, it's a big win in that aspect, and of course a big win for the Atmanirbhar Bharat story, that how in less time we are vaccinating more people, how we are vaccinating a double dose to the adult population. And yes, of course, very soon we'll be expecting that the children and the teenagers will also be vaccinated soon.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you and appreciate you joining us this morning, giving us an insight into that WHO approval, a big shot in the arm for India's Atmanirbhar story. And surely this particular move is going to, as Rukma put, is going to help many poorer countries, especially get a foothold in managing the pandemic and also getting more and more people vaccinated.
And it's time now for a short break, but there's more up ahead here on Breakfast News. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
As the day unfolds and news and events take shape, we get you complete coverage of every news breaking in, tracking new developments as they happen. Midday Prime English, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. on DD India.
Welcome back after the break, and news now about Diwali. Diwali, the festival of lights, is being celebrated across the country with great fervor and enthusiasm. Diwali comes from the Sanskrit word Deepavali, which means row of lights. The festival marks the victory of good over evil and light over darkness. Lights glow, signifying all that is associated with illumination, including knowledge. The celebration marks the return of Lord Ram to Ayodhya after 14 years of exile, and people of Ayodhya then welcomed him by lighting diyas of joy. Friends and families get together, light diyas or earthen lamps in their homes, feast on sweets, exchange gifts, pray and play games. The festival also marks the new moon day of the month of Kartik, when Goddess Lakshmi churned the sea. Diyas welcome and worship Goddess Lakshmi. The festival is celebrated on Amavasya. It symbolizes the harbinger of new beginnings.
President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President and Prime Minister have greeted the people of the country on Diwali. In his message, the President said and I quote that Deepavali festival symbolizes victory of good over evil and light over darkness. He said Deepavali gives a message of mutual affection, fraternity and brotherhood. The president said it is an occasion to share our prosperity and happiness with each other. The president has called upon everyone to celebrate Deepavali together in a clean and safe manner and resolve to contribute in conservation and protection of the environment. Vice President also extended greetings and good wishes to the people on the auspicious occasion of Deepavali. The Vice President in his greetings said that this festival brings light, harmony, prosperity and peace into our lives. The Vice President hoped that this festival ushers in a new enthusiasm to make our lives more fulfilling and bring happiness to everyone around us. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also extended greetings on the occasion of Diwali.
Devotees in Amritsar visited the Golden Temple to offer prayers on the occasion of Deepavali.
But British Prime Minister Boris Johnson also extended greetings on Deepavali. The United Kingdom Prime Minister in a video message said Britain would be a lesser country today without the huge contributions of Indians living there.
Hi folks, it's Boris Johnson here wishing everybody a very happy Diwali. The lights are on in Leicester's Golden Mile, the samosas and sweet treats are being handed out and people are taking in all the wonderful sights, smells and sounds that make this festival so luminous and exciting. And of course, running through this occasion is the central message of good over evil, hope over despair, knowledge over ignorance, an uplifting message that I believe we can all take to our hearts. And to British Indians, for whom this festival means so much, I want to express my personal admiration and respect for everything you do for our country. So, to everyone celebrating Diwali here in Britain and around the world, I want to wish you all a happy Diwali and a joyful and successful New Year. Shubh Diwali.
And on the other side of the Atlantic, United States lawmakers have introduced Deepavali Day Act, a legislation that would make Diwali a nationally recognized holiday there. Led by Congresswoman Carolyn B. Maloney, the historic legislation has been co-sponsored by a number of lawmakers, including Indian Americans. In a statement, she said, Diwali celebrates the victory of light over darkness and it symbolizes their nation's continuing fight against COVID-19.
Well, on the eve of Diwali, the festival of lights in the temple town of Ayodhya on Wednesday set a new record by lighting over 1.2 million earthen lamps at 32 places along the banks of Saryu River.
Ghats on the banks of the river Saryu are all lit up. The look and feel is such that one gets absorbed in the lights of diyas. On the eve of Deepavali, a total of 12 lakh earthen lamps were lit. 32 ghats on the banks of river Saryu lit up with 9 lakh earthen lamps, and the grandeur of Ayodhya coming out evidently well with 3 lakh earthen lamps lit everywhere. Ayodhya, all soaked in colourful lights, is celebrating the Festival of Lights, believed to be an event welcoming the arrival of Lord Sri Ram. Such a scene, such an ambience is beyond any plan and is unique and unparalleled.
5 वर्ष पहले जब अयोध्या के बारे में दीपोत्सव की चर्चा सामने आई थी, तो अयोध्या में ही आज के दिन पर यह आयोजन नहीं हो रहा था। तब हमारी सरकार ने तय किया कि नहीं, अगर अयोध्या को उसकी पहचान दिलानी है तो प्रभु राम के आगमन पर अयोध्या राम राज्य की ओर गया था, भारत राम राज्य की ओर गया था, और एक बार फिर से दीपोत्सव के माध्यम से वे सभी कार्य सफल होंगे।
12 लाख दियाओं को जलाकर दीपमाला पूरा जगत को प्रकाशित कर रही हैं। यह केवल एक विश्व रिकॉर्ड नहीं है, बल्कि पूरा विश्व को भगवान श्री राम की मर्यादा का ये संदेश है।
The green firecrackers illuminated the sky on the banks of Saryu River, creating an extraordinary visual trait. When laser ray lights illuminated the sky, the entire horizon came out in all its glory. The stunning beauty of the night lights, or Deep Ratri, says it all. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath welcomed the artists enacting the roles of Sri Ram, Lakshman and Sita Ji and took part in the symbolic Tilakotsav. On this occasion, he inaugurated and laid the foundation stones of 661 crore rupees worth development projects in Ayodhya. He said, "This is the strength of the country's democracy, that all powers have been bowed down before Sri Ram Bhakts or devotees."
आपकी ताकत, लोकतंत्र की ताकत कितनी मजबूत होती है, आपने उसका एहसास कराया। और उस ताकत का एहसास है जो कल तक राम भक्तों पर आज से 31 वर्ष पहले गोलियां चला रहे थे, आज वो आपकी ताकत के सामने झुके हैं।
On the eve of Diwali, Ayodhya is all lit up and is symbolic of the Indian tradition, faith and devotion, and a resolve to carry forward the ideals and values of Maryada Purushottam Ram. This evergreen earth will always stand for the rights of all, giving dignity to each religion, justice and truth for all. With Vikas Singh in Ayodhya, Bureau Report, DD India.
And the stage is all set for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Kedarnath visit. The holy site is witnessing development like never before, and several new projects for the ease of pilgrims are being constructed. Here's a special report from our correspondent giving insights into the Prime Minister's visit. Take a look.
Behind the Kedarnath temple, I am here inside the Shankaracharya Samadhi Sthal, which the Prime Minister is going to inaugurate. This is around 13 feet tall black stone statue of Shankaracharya. We have reached on the top, and as you can see down there is the Shri Yantra. Now we will take a look at what's happening around. There's some of the construction work going on here also. The beautification process is on. This is Saraswati River, and the bridge that you see has been newly constructed by the PWD department. This bridge is for the pilgrims and tourists who would like to visit Bhairabnath temple, which is up there on the rock. Now all this is being done for the development of this place, for the betterment of the facilities that have to be provided, that should have been provided for the tourists, and this is all being done under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I am standing on the Astha Path, which is being constructed by JSW, and there the 5 sheds that you see, they are the ghats that have been newly constructed. So all is being done to provide better facility to the pilgrims. With cameraman Ajit, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India, Kedarnath.
And joining us on the phone line from Kedarnath is our correspondent Vishal Baristo. Vishal, a very good morning to you. Give us a sense, your report already tells us about the major development projects there, but give us a sense of the kind of enthusiasm that's in place, the kind of preparations that have been made as the Prime Minister is all set to visit Kedarnath.
Well, a very good morning to you, Rikwana, and first of all, let me wish you and Narendra a very happy Diwali, the festival of lights. I hope and I pray that good always prevails over evil. Now coming back to the stage is all set and the enthusiasm here, despite of terrible cold, people from states, I think here, not only Diwali, but also to have the Prime Minister and Modi would be coming on our trip, and people are so proud of his achievements that he has made us all proud, not only as the Prime Minister of the country, but also as leader of India on the global forum. Now the stage is being set, the people is getting decorated, because today is Diwali, and people are so very happy, not but take it now.
Well, we seem to be having some problem there connecting our correspondent Vishal Baristo on the ground in Kedarnath. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expected the stage is set, as we were telling you, for his visit there. He is to inaugurate major projects and a lot of development also taking place after those massive floods there. And we'll be in touch with Vishal throughout the day for more. Moving on now to other news stories.
Well, taking things forward, we daily get you a feature when it comes to India's saga of freedom, and India's glorious fight for freedom is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. In today's episode of Saga of Freedom, we commemorate the birth anniversary of the great freedom fighter Vasudev Balwant Phadke, popularly referred to as the father of Indian armed rebellion, and industrialist and Gandhian Jamnalal Bajaj.
Born on November 4th, 1845 in Shirdhon village of Raigad district, Maharashtra, Phadke was moved by the plight of the farming community and believed that Swaraj was the only remedy for their sufferings.
He is popularly referred to as the father of Indian armed rebellion.
Despite being an employee of the Military Finance Office in Pune, Phadke used to roam around the streets of Pune in Maharashtra during the mid-1870s with a thali and ladle in his hands and calling out, "Our country must be free and the Englishmen must be driven out."
On Sundays, he used to travel to neighboring areas of Panvel, Palaspe, Tasgaon and Narsobachivadi to address the masses, and was apparently the first Indian to tour for public awareness, calling for the ouster of the British. On February the 20th, 1879, Phadke and his colleagues like Vishnu Gadre, Gopal Sathe, Ganesh Deodhar and Gopal Hari Karve declared the formation of their 200-strong militia outside Loni, 8 miles north of Pune. Phadke's team undertook some daring operations in the vicinity of Bombay and later in Konkan region.
In May 1879, Phadke issued his famous proclamation denouncing the exploitative economic policies of the British government. Copies of the proclamation were posted to the governor, collectors and other government officers.
The Times London on June the 3rd, 1879 carried a long editorial on the Phadke phenomenon. Later, when the Britishers tightened their grip, Phadke fled Maharashtra and tried to reorganize a fresh revolution with Rohilla and 6 in Nizam's forces, but his plans ended with his arrest on July the 20th, 1879.
Phadke was sent to a jail in Aden, Yemen, because the British feared the Indian public's reaction to his arrest. He died while on a hunger strike on February 17, 1883.
Vasudev Balwant Phadke died at the age of 37 years, but he paved the way for organized armed movement for the independence of India. We also remember industrialist and Gandhian Jamnalal Kaniram Bajaj, who was born on the 4th of November 1889, founder of the Bajaj Group of Companies in 1920s. He was a close associate of Mahatma Gandhi, who is known to have often declared that Jamnalal was his 5th son.
Jamnalal believed in Mahatma Gandhi's vision that homemade goods were the answer to India's poverty. He gave up the title of Rai Bahadur conferred on him by the British government and joined the non-cooperation movement in 1921.
Later, in 1923, he participated in the Flag Satyagraha, defying a ban on flying the national flag in Nagpur, and was detained by the British forces.
He fought the non-admission of so-called untouchables into Hindu temples in his hometown of Wardha. As orthodox Hindu priests and Brahmins objected, he opened his own family temple the Lakshmi Narayan Mandir in Wardha for the so-called untouchables in 1928. In honor of his social initiatives, the Jamnalal Bajaj Award has been instituted by the Bajaj Foundation. We salute this great industrialist freedom fighter.
And time now for another very short commercial break, but there's more up ahead here on Breakfast News. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
With the world's largest COVID vaccination drive, India is leading the way. As the vaccine reaches every corner of the nation, do not forget the mantra, Dawai bhi, Kadai bhi. Let's continue our fight against COVID-19. Vaccination along with social distancing, sanitization and masks.
Mask up, India!
Put your mask on and cover your nose and be safe.
Mask up, India.
And it's time now to move on to news from around the world in our next segment, Across the Globe.
We're starting first up with a global look on COVID-19 numbers and updates from the world. COVID-19 continues to batter the world with number of cases rising in several countries, including Russia and China. So far, the virus has infected more than 24 crore 87 lakh people across the globe. The number of recoveries from COVID-19 crossing 22 crores 54 lakh. Total number of fatalities or deaths being reported, 50 lakh 36,000 people have lost their fight against COVID-19. United States continues to remain the worst affected by the pandemic, both in terms of infections and fatalities, and the Delta variant causing havoc, as now the number of people infected in the United States of America over 4 crore 70 lakh. The fatalities now over 7 lakh 70,000 in USA.
The United States has begun administering the COVID vaccine to children aged 5 to 11. It has been the latest group to become eligible for the shots that provide protection against the illness. U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have recommended the Pfizer-BioNTech shot for broad use in that age group. Only a limited amount of the initial 15 million shots being distributed will be available on Wednesday. They are expected to be more widely accessible at pediatricians' offices, children's hospitals and pharmacies next week. The big national pharmacy chains, Walgreens Boots Alliance, CVS Health and Rite Aid are among those offering appointments for this weekend. The vaccine will provide an avenue for fewer quarantines or school closures and more normal activities and freedoms.
US President Joe Biden said that there will be enough COVID-19 vaccines by next week for children, and these shots will be available at about 20,000 locations across the country. President added that it is a day of relief and celebration for parents all over the country. Meanwhile, US officials also announced that nearly 80% of the adults have received at least one shot of the COVID-19 jab or COVID-19 vaccine jab, and almost 58% of American adults are fully vaccinated. United States has started administering the COVID-19 vaccine to children aged 5 to 11 and the latest group to become eligible to these shots that provide protection against the illness.
For parents all over this country, this is a day of relief and celebration. After almost 18 months of anxious worrying every time your child had a sniffle or started to cough, well, you can now protect them from this horrible virus, because that would always worry you that was coming along. 28 million more young Americans are now eligible for the protection of a vaccine. And my administration is ready. We're ready from day one, today, organized and have a plan for for this vaccination's launch.
And in other international news, the UN Refugee Agency is distributing blankets and coal to help Afghans in the Afghan-Pakistan border area survive the winter. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees has started to airlift supplies to Kabul to help hundreds of thousands of displaced Afghans prepare for the cold winter ahead. While one chartered flight has already arrived in Kabul, 2 others are scheduled to arrive with aid later this week. The kits provide flooring and insulation, particularly for those living in makeshift dwellings. The UNHCR has said it is rushing to provide winter assistance to some 50,000 Afghans, returnees and local host communities by the end of the year. However, it has already provided aid including shelter, food, blankets and stoves to 18 million Afghans this year.
Well, time now to move on to our segment on sports track.
And in sports news, we begin with India's victory against Afghanistan. India smashing Afghanistan in Abu Dhabi to get a win on the board in the Group 2 by 66 runs to aid their net run rate. Openers Rohit Sharma and Rahul shared a 140-run opening stand to set up their massive score. Afghanistan stumbled early in their chase, losing both openers to successive deliveries. Inside the first 19 balls, this is also India's first win of the tournament, opening their account in the group standings and pushing their net run rate into a positive zone, with matches against Scotland and Namibia remaining.
Well, Rahul Dravid has been appointed as the head coach of the Indian cricket team. He will take over from Ravi Shastri, whose tenure will come to an end after the ongoing Men's T20 World Cup in Abu Dhabi. Dravid will take charge of the senior side from the home series against New Zealand that starts with the T20 on November 17. The series involves 3 T20s, 2 tests. Dravid previously coached India's under-19 side at the 2016 and 2018 World Cup, where they finished runners-up and champions respectively. Dravid has also overseen the progress of India A side until 2019, when he was appointed the head of the National Cricket Academy, or the NCA, in Bengaluru. He was also the coach of the recently of the Indian team when a Shikhar Dhawan-led Indian team toured Sri Lanka earlier this year.
And time now for the weather forecast. And the satellite picture shows light to moderate rainfall at many or most places, with isolated thunderstorm and lightning very likely over South Peninsular India in the next 5 days, and at a few places over South Konkan, Goa, South Madhya Maharashtra and South Marathwada from the 4th, that's today, to the 7th. Heavy rainfall at isolated places likely over Kerala and Mahe, coastal Andhra Pradesh and Yanam, Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Karaikal, Rayalaseema and interior Karnataka in the next 5 days, over Telangana and coastal Karnataka on the 4th today, and over South Konkan and Goa and South Madhya Maharashtra from the 5th to the 6th. Very heavy rains at isolated places very likely over Kerala and Mahe today, and over coastal Andhra Pradesh and Yanam on the 7th of November. Mainly dry weather very likely to prevail over most parts of the plains of northwest India and northeast India, many parts of central and east India and some parts of west India in the next 4 to 5 days. And now for the temperatures across the country.
Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of Breakfast News. But remember, this is a season of festivity, so we all go out, but we also need to be careful for following those 3 simple steps of SMS, sanitizing yourself, masking yourself, following social distancing at all times. Remember, this is Diwali season, so if you have not got yourself a jab, please go ahead, get yourself, your loved ones a jab of the vaccine, because that's the best Diwali gift that you could give to your loved ones. And it's not a trade-off, so be careful of that in this festive season while we all stay happy and enjoy the festive fever.
And as we go, as always, we leave you today with visuals of the colorful, bustling markets as India celebrates the Festival of Lights, Diwali. Once again, wishing you a very happy Deepavali. May this festival bring you and your loved ones great joy and cheer. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.
Bye-bye. Take care.